What's going on, everybody? Jeff here. Welcome back to the channel. All right, guys, on Sunday, I made a video giving you a little bit of a preview of what to expect Monday and Tuesday ahead of tomorrow. There's a lot of data also being released before Jerome Powell is going to be speaking at 1:30 Eastern time. I want to talk about what happened the last 2 days and how things are leading up. We finally got some preliminary numbers back from Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I'm going to give you my entire take on it, talk about the market structure. It's going to be very important, so pay close attention. So here we are. I talked about this 394 to 400 range for quite some time. In the video I made Sunday, I had stated we got that false breakout to the upside. We got the false breakout down over here to the downside. And here we are once again breaking out to the upside. I would want to see that 400 hold as new support. However, I also stated because of everything that was happening over in China and specifically affecting Apple, as well as the Apple chart looking very, very weak, I said that if it's very possible we're going to get a breakdown, a little bit of a sell-off happening on Monday, which is exactly what happened, followed by a little bit of chop on Tuesday. We did sell off a little bit after an overnight grind, but kind of settling somewhere around that 395.50 area. Like I said, we got about 2 minutes ahead of close as I'm making this video. A lot lower volume today, okay? We're sitting at about 50% of the average volume. Very typical, especially, when there's a major event happening, but we're sitting at the bottom of the range as of right now. And I spoke about Apple and I had said, listen, exactly where Apple was sitting. I said it's very bearish. And because Apple is such heavily weighted inside the entire market, when SPY is up here, okay, in its channel over the past, 30 days as we're looking right now, but Apple is sitting down below. If Apple pulls and breaks, it's going to pull the entire market with it. Stocks like Apple, Microsoft, probably the number 1 and 2. I tend to look at Tesla, a little bit later on Amazon, Google, but Apple and Microsoft are the 1 and 2 that they could really carry the market if they move strong in either direction. So now here we are sitting at the bottom of this channel, waiting for Jerome Powell to be speaking tomorrow. It's not just Jerome Powell speaking. We have a lot of economic data, mortgage applications, okay, which is something we pay very close attention to because the housing market has seen such a decrease in interest, employment change, consumer spending, Chicago PMI, as well as pending home sales, a couple, a Fed governor speaking in the Beige Book at 2 o'clock. A lot of economic data happening. Now, the one thing I want to focus on, I'm going to talk about in just a moment, is this consumer spending. Okay, so we've seen Jerome Powell come out, really have this hawkish tone. Okay, we saw him come out, after the market was rallying for quite some time, and he comes out in August, right around here and says, listen, we have a lot of work to do. All right, the market's continuing to rally. We're not done tapering. All right, we're not done raising interest rates. We're not gonna, back off the throttle. And here goes the market over the next, month and a half. After a couple chops, we got a higher than expected CPI range all the way down to, here we are. Well, now we bounced off of 350. We've been rallying all the way up to 400. That's a pretty good, to the upside. It's about a, 12, 13% gain to the upside. We're at a very similar, facet right now. CPI did come in a little bit lower than expected. It still has a long ways to go. Yesterday, you had, a Fed official coming out saying, listen, we need to get, rates to the higher end of that 5 to 7% range. That's why we saw the massive sell-off, okay, come in yesterday. But like I said, you've got a lot of, still incentive for Jerome Powell to try to reel things in a little bit, okay? Now, here's where where I want to put a lot of focus on. Even though we have this CPI came in at just a little bit lower than expected, I feel like it was, we talked about that, previous videos, how it was just a few sectors that were heavily weighted, pulling that CPI down a little bit, as well as their wild calculations that they make. It's inevitable for CPI, then that headline number to come down a little bit. That doesn't mean that things are still not winding out of control. Well, here we are on Tuesday after Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I think Jerome Powell is really going to focus on this. Black Friday online sales top $9 billion, new record. Most of it was online sales, 2.3% year over year. This does not include what was spent out in the store. Now, given the fact that everything nowadays is free shipping, it comes in literally between 1 to 3 days. It's very convenient for you to go online and shop. And most people do. I feel comfortable when I say for certain items, especially Christmas items. You have so much time. Most people do. So a big chunk of shopping done on Black Friday was done online. 2.3%, year over year. I don't really weigh that as something that is a very big jump. And the reason being is because of inflation. You know what I mean? It's hard to track, because it's multiple different items, what the total number of items were sold year over year. That's very, like I said, it's very difficult to track. But when it comes to that monetary aspect, considering inflation is much higher than 2.3%, I really don't feel comfortable saying that this was a huge, move to the upside. Okay. I will also say the buy now, pay later payments increased by 78% compared to the past week. Their revenue total is up 81%. A lot of people are doing this. Affirm is getting a lot of action. A lot of people are doing this buy now, pay later. Just another indication that they do not have money in their savings, and consumer credit is continuing to rise to the upside. Here we are as the official first, some data from Cyber Monday. Now, Cyber Monday, it's a little bit easier to track because this is purely online sales. Cyber Monday sales hit 11.3 billion. The expectations, okay, I believe were 11.2 billion. Okay, which is up 5.1%. So here we are at 11.3 billion, higher than expectations, a little bit more in line with the CPI, really giving us some premature indication that consumers are still spending very heavy. Okay, so while we do have certain sectors such as the energy sector, if you look at the price of gasoline, okay, from November versus October, it did come down just a little bit, but we still have a lot of spending going on. I expect Jerome Powell to come out with and maintain his hawkish tone and just say, listen, like we still have, there's been some rumors, there's been some speculation talking about slowing rates, a little bit further. I would like to see him come out and really start to lay things out a little bit more clear. Like we're going to, get away from that 75, which is pretty much already priced in as of right now. However, it is not off of the table. Okay. And that we are going to continue to remain firm in the fact that we need inflation to get down. Okay. So, like I said, couple that with all the economic data coming out, not just tomorrow, but also on Thursday, which we do have the PCE price index, which, as we know, is the Fed's preferred method of looking at inflation. A lot of things to look forward as of happening. Okay. So we've got this, like I said, this 394 level. If you zoom down just a little bit further, the real crack comes at 390. Okay. You could see right over here, bounced off of that, support level, nice move to the upside. We broke that, came back up. Remember, old support broken through, tested as new resistance, very solid. Here we are again, resistance, double tap, come back through, breakout, test it again. I mean, it's very, very simple. You can see this magnet around that 390 level area. We break that, especially if we can break that, potentially go back, retest it, proving that that old support of 390, becomes, new resistance, unless we just, like I said, smash through that depending on what he says. It's going to give a lot of bleeding to the downside. When you zoom out even further, okay, the structure of this continuous pattern still stands, okay? And while there is going to be a time where this trend line, all right, and I'll draw this out for you guys, where this trend line eventually, this is just going to be a rough trend line, okay? Where this trend line eventually does fail and we do break out to the upside, that is going to happen. It's rejected 3 times. The macros haven't really changed as well. So we kind of have to assume that, listen, this offers a good risk reward. And here we are looking at kind of getting to another top. Okay. So guys, that's it for this video. I'll update everybody after Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow. See you in the next one.